Good morning. Here we are. It's a Sunday morning, and therefore it is a Sunday thought. I'm sure you've all heard the saying, what we resist persists. What is that really all about? And so today I wanted to talk about resistance and how it happens, what the effects of that is, because it happens a lot for us. What we need to be, doesn't mean we are, but what we would be preferable to be is to be open and aware to change. Now, what changes? We have thoughts, we have feelings, and we have opportunities. But what happens is that we very often resist these. It could be a new thought that comes in. And I know I've certainly done that. No, that can't be right. Doesn't fit in with my framework of what it should be or shouldn't be, etc. And even having the word should, I mean, that's one of the things I work to get out of my day-to-day language. But here it pops up again here. Feelings. Often our body, from my perspective, our body gives us feelings telling us how the body feels about things. We resist those big time. It took me years to learn to be able to acknowledge my feelings. And I did that by naming them. And I began to find as I named them, they quietened down. But the one very often I found was we resisted new opportunities. Sometimes a new thing would come to me, and very often, I would grab it and run with it. But if it hit a couple of things I've discovered as to why we resist, I didn't always follow them through. Now, what are those two things? Because those are the main things we want to look at. One is plain stubbornness. We have a set agenda, we have a set idea, we have a set concept of how it is supposed to be, and we're going to do that no matter what. And the second one is fear. Fear of not receiving it, fear of what people will say, fear has a multiple of things. And when I look back at my life, I realized fear dominated some of my decisions, whether I'd be given an opportunity, but I wouldn't carry through because I was fearful. Believe it or not, I didn't always have a great sense of self-confidence or awareness. And so I didn't carry through with things because I was scared of the results. I was scared of rejection. And and as the years went by, that became less, but I still don't like rejection. I don't think any of us do. But it doesn't stop me now if there's something that I want to do. The other thing I've got written down here actually is when it comes to fear is lack of motivation. Do you really want to do this? If you really want to do this, you will go forward and you will move beyond your resistance. You will move beyond what is there. And the other one is basically a lack of imagination. You can't imagine what is being presented. You can't imagine being in that role. You can't imagine doing it. Now, I had no problem with my imagination, but when I was looking at when does the fear come? What does it really hit us? Where does it get to us? Where we won't accept what is coming in. We won't accept all the good things that are being offered to us. Life presents many, many opportunities, but then we got to go back to our thinking. I'm a metaphysician, and a metaphysician really believes that thought creates. Thought is the first thing. That doesn't mean you create everything that you want. No, it doesn't, because there's lots of variables with that, but it's a beginning place, a beginning of what you are wanting to perceive and to do and how you do that. I often tell my clients, you've got to know, you got to put it into the knowing place that that's real, that that's possible. And what happens very often is we have to work through the resistance to the reality of knowing. If we know it, it is. So it's a hard thing to teach people about how do you overcome all the obstacles, because the mind usually can create many, 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 many different obstacles. And yet, if we want to create, if we want to move beyond our resistance, we are going to need to, first of all, look at our thinking. Are we thinking the things? I find very often people do not see the end result they want. They see a goal along the way. And I have a meditation, actually, I've led many, many times about that when I've been teaching goal setting. Because very often I've had people write down, and you can try this at home, 3 different goals that you want. And the meditation basically is that you imagine the goal and you imagine the steps that you're taking to the goal. And then you do this for the 3 different ones, because, this is the right, when we put in the right circumstances, makes it very much easier. And then you take a look, what's goal number 1? What's goal number 2? What's goal number 3? And very often what we find is goal 1 and 2 are often the steps for the 3rd. So I usually don't work with any more than 3, but it's like, often is wondering is like, are we really considering thinking and putting our energy into a step, or is it a goal? Because goals are very, very, very important. And it's a matter too of recognizing that if you're not realizing that you have the reins of your life in your hands, and that doesn't mean there's things that can't come from outside. I mean, I'm certainly one that, like, all of a sudden, oh, what are we supposed to do with that? And that's what I'm talking about a little bit. Those things that come in unexpectedly, we resist them. Now, it can be on any level, can be for anything, but we resist. And what we resist will persist at us. And what happens with that? If we overcome our stubbornness, if we overcome our fear, if we actually say, okay, let me take a look at this in reality, and then create a plan of how to incorporate that in your life. I've done lots of visualization in my life to create different things. And I get lazy. I have to admit, I get lazy, and I don't always keep up with my visualizations and put the energy into them to have that become a reality in my what would you say, my stream of life. Now, what happens if we keep resisting? What often happens is a feeling of sadness and despair, because we feel we've lost or not achieved. So we begin to beat ourselves up, which make it worse. So this is very much then the next step of being able to accept what we've done. As I know, I'm at that time of life where I look back and I can see where things might have been very different in many different areas of my life if I had not been fearful, if I had not been held back, if I had believed in myself a little bit more, if I had not been afraid of the rejections that I thought may happen. I just didn't want to face rejections for a large part of my life. I did very well. There's no doubt about that. I'm very proud of what I've done and created over time. But at the same point, there was a time period in my life where I even made bigger changes and more, you might say, bigger situations. So we don't want to move to that place where we have regret. As far as I'm concerned, regret and guilt are the 2 things that we as human beings don't need to be carrying, because that impedes the process when we finally come to leave this body. A lot of people don't talk about death and dying. I do, but we will do more of that in another day, in another place. Today is a day of looking at your life to see, what do I resist? What is it that I'm not wanting to let in? Is it a feeling? Is it a thought? Is it an opportunity? Or maybe you don't have any of that for right now. In other words, you could also look, where am I stubborn? Because stubbornness is a resistance. Is it an idea? Is it a feeling? Am I motivated to grow? Am I motivated to learn more? In fact, I had a big learning curve happen in my own life just a couple of weeks ago that's changing a lot of things. So it never ends. It never can say, oh, I've got it all figured out. There's something else to be able to work on. Because you don't want to be in the sadness. You don't want to be in the despair. You don't want to be in the regret and grief about life. You want to embrace life fully and enjoy it and take the bumps as they come along, because they do come along. So that's my Sunday thought for today. Look at where you're resisting. Look at what's blocking you so that you can move forward into a greater sense. So thanks for listening. Remember, I will be back on 7 o'clock tomorrow night, Monday, for mental mind treatments. If you have anything you'd like a prayer for or anything you would like to figure out a little bit more, just email me, text me up to 6 o'clock tomorrow, because we start at 7. Other than that, you just have a great and wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you.